Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the all-new SH MonsterArts Godzilla vs Kong Godzilla. I think I've been equally as excited for this release as I was with Kong, as this is in fact also one of my first SH MonsterArts Godzilla figures, and judging by some of the reviews and pictures I've seen online, this guy definitely does look incredible, and I can say that having him in hand, he certainly is a sight to behold, albeit not as good as Kong, at least in my opinion. But nevertheless, taking a look here at the packaging, you've got an amazing image of the actual figure itself. We've got that Godzilla vs Kong logo, and if we actually do bring in the Kong box art, you can indeed combine these in order to create an almost poster of both Godzilla and Kong just about to throw down, which is a really nice attention to detail by MonsterArts and of course Bandai. So we take a look here at the side of the box, you can see we've merely just got Godzilla vs Kong. Here on the back of the box, you would have the figure displayed here, and you've got some cool product shots, although you may be able to notice that there is a little less expression when in comparison to the product shots that we got with Kong, just as Godzilla unfortunately doesn't come with that many accessories. You can see here on the other side, we've got quite a menacing image there of Godzilla, like he's about to laugh himself into oblivion like we saw in Hong Kong, and you can see Godzilla versus Kong there. So without further ado, let's take a look at all of the contents inside, and to be honest, he really doesn't come with that much. And here we have Godzilla and all of his accessories, and oh boy, I was not exaggerating at all. This guy pretty much comes with the bare minimum, which I was really disappointed with upon getting him out of the packaging. I was really hoping for at least an atomic blast effect, as the entire colour palette of the figure gives you the impression that he's just about to charge up in order to deploy his atomic breath on Kong, but nope, we get nothing other than these pair of interchangeable hands, which really and truly are not all that dissimilar from the pair that we actually get packaged. These ones are a slightly more neutral expression when in comparison to these slightly more exaggerated claw-like expressions, and to be fair, these are really redundant and I probably will never be using them on the figure, but just to demonstrate how you can actually install them, it's very simple. You just pop these ones clean off and then bring the new ones in, and I actually believe you're supposed to recycle the ball peg as well, which is quite lazy, but you just pop that off, bring this one in, pop that in there as well, and then just reinsert it into the figure's hand, and you can see there really isn't much difference there, but the sculpt and paintwork for all of the hands does definitely look exceptional. As mentioned, I would have loved to have actually gotten an atomic blast effect. As it stands, I'm merely borrowing the effect that we got with the Playmates Godzilla, and luckily this section does actually insert into the back of the mouth, and if you close the jaw, you can get quite a natural, realistic expression, but it really doesn't take that much to knock it out. But I don't think this looks too bad at all, and for display purposes, this is definitely what I'll be using here on this figure. I think the colour match is pretty spot on as well. But taking a look here at Godzilla himself, the painting and the sculpting on this figure is exceptional, and is really the major selling point here of this release. He looks fantastic. You can see we've got all of this amazing spinal / dorsal plate detailing, and every single angle of the figure has been painted and sculpted perfectly well. You can see we've got that charged energy effect. Taking a look here at the larger dorsal fins, you can see some exceptional looking sculpt as well as paintwork there. Really a terrific job here by MonsterArts and Bandai on this figure. Even taking a look here right at the tip of Godzilla's head, you can see that blue paint detailing does continue on all of the different multiple layered segments that we get for the neck, the body, as well as the tail. You can also see the skin texturing detailing looks fantastic. I do believe all of this too has also been painted, which is just exceptional. It really does create for an incredibly realistic look, and this is undoubtedly the best Godzilla that I currently own in my collection. Even turning here to the underside, everything has been textured and painted perfectly well, and it really does capture the appearance from the movie. You can see here for the base of the feet, these two have been completely sculpted. It is a fantastic looking figure. Taking a look here at front on perspective at the torso, you can see a nice mix of brown wash just to pick out some of the sharper details of the sculpt. We've got that musculature detailing here for the bicep, as well as the slightly skinnier forearm and the hands. The claws look so awesome. You can see the nails have been picked out in a slightly lighter shade of grey when in comparison to the darker skin tone, and the same can also be said here for the Godzilla toes, and these look so awesome. Definitely look as if though they could carve some type of scar into Kong, much like we saw in the movie. Now the head sculpt, I'm not entirely sure as to whether or not this is just me, but I was really quite surprised to see how small the head on this particular MonsterVerse Godzilla is, and it's something that I never actually noticed, but going back and actually looking at some of the stills from the movie in closer detail, this particular Godzilla does have a much smaller head when in comparison to some of these previous incarnations, which isn't a bad thing, but just taking a look at this figure, it definitely does look way out of scale with the rest of the body, but that is of course accurate to the movie. The sculpt on this looks fantastic, the paintwork too looks pretty awesome. I wasn't entirely sure as to how I would feel about the entire mouth being picked out in a metallic blue, but in person I've got to say that it works. I definitely do get the impression that this guy's about to fire an atomic blast at Kong, or at least at myself, but once again it would have been awesome if we could have actually got a blast effect. You can see all of the teeth in there have been picked out really nicely, the gums too, as so have the tongue. You can see the roof of the mouth as well. It's all been sculpted so nicely, and those tiny little beady blue eyes too. have also been painted and sculpted impeccably well. As far as Godzilla's articulation is concerned, this is where I think the figure is slightly lacking. He's loaded with joints, but due to the nature of the design, they're pretty much redundant, especially here for the tail. So for the head here, it can look up and down to quite a terrific degree. I am a fan that if you do bend this slightly too far and it does create a gap, you can actually extend some of these pieces just to conceal the gappage, which is something that I'm not familiar with on other high-end figures, so that's definitely a really nice touch. We also do get a swivel joint here at the lower section of the neck. The head can look left to right to quite a good degree, as well as rotate side to side for some of those more sinister poses like we saw in the movie. We do get ball joints here at the shoulders, which can bend forwards and backwards, but once again, I don't really want to rub any of the paint off as I am feeling some friction, but these are also on butterfly joints. We do get a double joint here at the elbow, which is a seamless joint. You cannot actually see the hinge joint, which is awesome, and the hands can rotate the full 360, as well as hinge in and out. We also do get an upper body rotation, but this can merely just hinge up and down. We also do get another one here, which is more for looking left to right, but due to the nature of the design, it's very, very restricted. The legs can kick forwards and backwards, but once again, it's fairly restricted and I don't want to force it as I do not want to cause any damage to the paint. We do get a double joint here at the knee. We also do get a rotation here just below the knee, a calf rotation, as well as a full ball joint here at the toe, which is really cool. And then here for the tail, this has got so many different individual segments, but honestly, there isn't enough clearance to actually utilize them all. You can see that some of these are pretty much useless. So for example, these ones here, you really aren't getting that much range of motion out of, and especially as we come here down to the lower section, you can see here that this really isn't bending all that much, and it really doesn't hold or pose all that well. So I wish the articulation was slightly better on the tail so that we could have got a better curl, but it's definitely not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just I was expecting something a little more dynamic and expressive here with this figure, but other than that, I think the figure looks fantastic. The articulation, at least for me, is mediocre. It's nowhere near as good as Kong, but I guess that's just down to Godzilla's design. But the sculpt and paintwork, especially here on those dorsal fins, looks fantastic, and you can definitely recreate the scene where he's about to charge up, so we can have him going raining hell down on Kong, which is super, super cool. And from pretty much every angle, this guy looks exactly how he did in the movie, so they certainly have done a terrific job in that regards. Here, for a very quick SH Monster Art size comparison, we have both Godzilla and Kong both compared to one another, and I think the scale here is pretty much spot on to what we saw in the movie. You can see here that Kong is slightly smaller than Godzilla, but of course you can hunch him over slightly. I think this is pretty much spot on to what we saw in the film. And just to go back to my earlier point that I mentioned in the Kong review, there is no doubt that this particular segment isn't supposed to be one of the dorsal fins. It looks pretty much identical, other than the fact that it's been picked out in a slightly darker shade of blue. So I wish they could have delved into the backstory of this a little more in the movie. Hopefully, if there are more MonsterVerse movies down the line, we'll get more of the history of Kong and Godzilla. But other than that, as far as these two are concerned, I think that as display pieces, they are fantastic. And at the time of this recording, they are probably the best Godzilla and Kong that you can get from the GVK movie, immortalized in a plastic form, especially that King Kong. His articulation is so awesome, and I think he comes with a great array of accessories. Godzilla, I don't think is too bad at all. His sculpt and paintwork looks fantastic. I wish he came with more accessories. As mentioned, I would have loved to have gotten an actual blast effect, as I do believe in previous SH MonsterArts Godzilla releases, they have actually packaged that in, so it's quite a shame to see it not implemented here on this figure, and I do wish we could have perhaps got a slightly better range of motion in the tail, but that is just a minor critique, as it is loaded with joints. It's just it cannot get into all of those dynamic poses that perhaps I was hoping it to get into. So overall, I would definitely recommend both of these. If you can pick them up for a fair price, I would recommend hopping on them sooner rather than later, as these SH MonsterArts figures always tend to increase in price very rapidly upon release. So if you do miss that pre-order window, I would definitely try and track these down before they do completely sell out and you have to resort to places such as eBay and various other aftermarket places which have all got markup prices. And very quickly before we just wrap up this review, I just wanted to show you a slightly more dynamic display option here with Godzilla with that atomic blast taken from the Playmates Godzilla, and of course the SH MonsterArts Kong just about to throw down his axe upon Godzilla's head. And I think this is a superb recreation of one of the best live action movie sequences that we've gotten in recent years, especially for MonsterVerse. I really hope that you've enjoyed me taking a look at some of these SH MonsterArts reviews as well as GVK figures in general. I do have a few more Playmates reviews coming up over on the channel, such as the giant Mecha Godzilla as well as those Mega Kong and Mega Godzilla toys, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more GVK reviews over on the channel, and I will in fact also be picking up that newly announced SH MonsterArts Mechagodzilla, which is due for release at the end of this year, so also be sure to stay tuned for that review. I thank you all for watching. I would love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think of both of these figures. Will you be adding them to your collection? Which one do you prefer over the other? Personally, as far as my own preference is concerned, I would always opt to go with Kong. I think he's fantastic. He comes with a great array of accessories, and the detail and sculpt work and the articulation is sublime. Godzilla 2 is also a very awesome looking piece, but I just don't think he's up there with Kong. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.